Brian Janot to the podium next, who is the president of the Historic Chatham Business District. And he's got a number of items to talk to council about, including some festival ideas and infrastructure requests. And so as soon as we get your presentation up there, Mr. Janot, we'll welcome you to the podium as well.
Time to meet with us, or meet with me, I guess. Yeah, and I've been president now for the last, seems like forever. The board has acknowledged that we need to do a lot more of these type of communications with the city to keep increasing the level of mutual respect amongst organizations as ours in the city. So we value the time that you guys have for us today to make these type of presentations. So first off, we want to introduce, or I want to introduce the person that I've been working with, a Mrs. by the name of Kim Henderson from Peg Entertainment. It's not on this, but that's who's prepared this for us. So what we have done and what we have kind of decided as a board is we're not in the festival planning type of thing. That's not who we are. We're all business people that are quite busy. So we figured why not try to hire somebody that could help manage these events and bring a top-notch event to our downtown and to our city. So we've been introduced to her by some connections that we have, and she has a company out of Halifax. It's called Peg Entertainment. You can Google it online. She really has been involved, I think, for 37 years over in Halifax with the Buskers Festival, and she has put on a lot of top-notch events. She provides a service to areas like ours in order to put forth some real professional type events. So I would, if you have time, I would Google it, Google Peg Entertainment. She's quite knowledgeable in these type of things. She's got a very wealth of information, and she's been very good to work with so far. So now, coming back to what we are proposing into our BIA, as you know, winter is kind of a dull time for business. We have hockey and that kind of stuff, but as far as activities and winter organized activities, certainly in our BIA, I can't speak from the city standpoint, but I know from our BIA, we lack that winter type festival. So at this point, this is a proposal. This is not something that we're committed to, but this is something that we're exploring at this point, and that's why I felt it was necessary to bring it to city and just kind of start the conversation. So this is Winter Wonderland. So essentially what it is, it'd be held on the Family Day weekend. So it's something that we would look forward to doing every year on that same type of weekend. It's a festival just to kind of utilize the elements at that point. Now, obviously, this is all hoping that we have our typical winter with cold and snow, and these events are geared around the cold and snow. Now, how do I go next one? Just press enter. Ah, look at that technology. So the Winter Wonderland, the concept around it, it's still at the conceptual stage. It's number one is kind of a wish thing if it was feasible. I did walk around the park. As we all do, but there is a track around there, so it would obviously be nice to entertain, if we were to do this every year, at looking at the infrastructure, what would be needed to create a skate track on Elm Park, which would be multi-use as far as that goes. It would create a gathering area for our downtown for people to come and utilize this skating, ice skating track, as you see in other cities, but also we could utilize it for the Winter Wonderland Festival that we're proposing. So that would be one of the events that we'd like to highlight if it's feasible. We're also looking at food trucks, outdoor fire pit, and s'mores, I guess is what she put on there, so we all know what that means. Family fun and outdoor games, hot chocolate and crafts, and ice sculpture. So the feature would be, and the thought is to create an event where you have family fun, free events, and we can celebrate the winter and make it more of a fun-filled event. We're looking at utilizing lights, ice sculpture, elements, food truck, just that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the high level information on that event, and that's where we are so far. This is just a little bit of ideas that she's throwing at us. So Kim has a wealth of experience, but also a Rolodex that she's able to use to get these type of games and all that stuff brought to Miramichi. So this is what she's proposing, to have some fun-filled games. Again, this would be held in Elm Park, so she would provide those services to us and bring them down and organize that for us, which I thought was quite neat. And this is some of the light features that she's looking at. Again, she has a company that she uses that could bring these type of features into the Elm Park. As you can see in the top right-hand corner would be something that we could utilize if we had a skate park or skating track, I guess, is utilizing the lights and music during that weekend. So she would would supply us with all the lights and the features, as you see right there. This is kind of we call it the spaghetti phase, where you just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, but this is where we were at this point. So as you can see, it just creates a nice atmosphere, and you can envision that around Elm Park. We have a lot of beautiful features that we could utilize. And the bottom right-hand corner, that is the utilizing lights and displaying on walls. So what we were thinking of is utilizing the library as a feature where we could project some lights and different type of things at night. So that is in a nutshell Winter Wonderland. I'm not sure if there's any questions on that part before I move on to the next one. But that, again, at this point, we do have some funds in our budget to do something like this. She does supply us with funding partners opportunities and budgeting standpoint. So she would, if we chose to hire her and acquire her services, she has a component in there to help with the marketing, the financing. She doesn't finance it, but she has ways to help us finance and provide budgetary presentations to different funding partners. So it's kind of the entire project, so we're kind of excited to try to do something with her. So any questions on that part, or you want me to just keep rolling?
Great. Maybe I'd invite you to keep going.
Perfect.
I might have a question or two, but I might have more, so I'll just wait until the end.
So as he's preparing it, the next one is the famous Buskers Festival. So this is Kim's bread and butter, the Buskers. So essentially, as you know, Halifax has been quite successful with their Buskers Festival. I'm a firm believer, if you want a pizza maker, you come and see me, I'll make you a great pizza. But if you want to do things that I don't know how to do, you get this expertise to do so. And I firmly believe that Kim has that expertise. It's proven. She's got a proven track record. She knows how to run these things. She knows how to fund these things, and she knows how to guide us in order to have a successful event. So we are proposing, again, there is, as you guys approved our budget or reviewed our budget, there is money allowed in our budget for the buskers, and we have put some money aside for that. And again, this is a family-free event that would be held in our downtown. It's all about gathering people and hopefully having some of our merchants opening up their businesses a little later and taking advantage of that crowd. As we've seen in the past from the last two that we've done, it's a very good event. It does bring people in our BIA. It does showcase what we have, the river, the bridge, all the beautiful attributes of our downtown. So we are proposing this year to have the Buskers Festival on Canada Day weekend, which would be 28th, 29th, 30th or something like that. No, the first is on Monday, so it would be, anyway, that weekend. So that would be when we propose to do so. Now, I have had a conversation with the Fishermen's Powwow. I had a conversation with him yesterday just to kind of make sure if this ever went public that we're not blindsiding and trying to take his steam and his thunder. There is definitely willingness, and when we do this, there's willingness to partake and participate with the powwow to make this a beautiful event. So we're trying to create an inclusion event and include all the basically the powwow and anything else we can include. So this event would be held on Waterford Green, which would be the powwow. We're looking at the Water Street and Elm Park. So we're trying to spread it around the town, or the city and the downtown, in order to get people walking. So what she is recommending, in order to make this kind of the comeback, because we had a one-year hiatus where we took a break, is it would be a $45,000 or $40,000 budget, which is $5,000 more than what she proposed last year. The reason being, and she can adjust the budget, but the reason being is she's looking at 6 buskers versus 4, so there was a little bit added there, because of the, she wants to have a good impact in relaunching this essentially. So as you can see, coordinate with Fisherman's Powwow to incorporate activities, coordinate with the Acadian artists. That was one thing I did point out to her is Miramichi is very culturally diverse, and it's one of our, I believe it's one of our charms. And I asked her to utilize what we have and who we are. So when I say Acadian, there's also the Scottish, the Irish, and I want her to utilize the Mi'kmaq community as well, i.e. the powwow. So the buskers and the event would be hosted around who we are. As you can see, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. If you want, I can, but it's quite detailed in what services she offers, and it also quite detailed in what she doesn't offer on the bottom part. So, see if I can click this. The buskers pitch. So yeah, again, so we go through everything here. Again, if we choose to go forward, everything is quite clearly identified on the services that she includes and doesn't include, and everything that's not included, it's quite clear that she helps us try to find funding partners and make sure that we're properly funded. So I'm not going to necessarily go through all that, but unless you want me to, but that kind of explains what we got going on here. Additional information. So this is what she wanted me to include was there's going to be 6 buskers over 4 days. So it's a 4-day event. Each act performs up to 3 shows a day. Shows average 30 to 40 minutes in length, including the passing of the hat. Artists will pass the hat, i.e. ask the audience, as we all know, we've seen that last time. And PEG Entertainment agrees to work exclusively with the City of Miramichi and will not entertain contracts with the City of Moncton. As we know, Moncton has had their event last year. It was okay. I spoke to them. It was an okay event. It was not PEG that done it. They had started with somebody that was supposed to launch it for them, but then that didn't work out, so they ended up taking on the event themselves. But there's no interest from PEG. If we choose to hire her, she's not doing any other events in New Brunswick. So she would be exclusive to us. And I think that's a plus for us because she is, I trust that she does put on a good show. That's it on that. So those are 2 festivals. Trying to go as quick as I can. And lastly is, oh, I don't know if you turn that off. No. This is just kind of a house cleaning thing for us on the board. And I'm not sure if it's this committee that I should present this to, but I do want to just kind of bring it up. As we know, we look at our downtown and we want to do these great events and stuff, and there's some infrastructure issues and concerns that we have. So I'm not sure if this would be the time to present these concerns, or maybe there's another time you would want us to present them. But it's mostly for budgetary things for 2024. So when it comes to some of the,
I would say do it now. I want to be formal and call you Mr. Janot. I also want to call you Brian, but this is the committee that is specified as where the BIA should come, and budget items are extremely timely because we're getting into that now. So okay. I would say, yeah, go ahead. You're here.
Yeah, so I don't want to pull away from the positive steam that we have going on with the 2 events that we're looking at doing in our BIA, and we're obviously looking to open up to communications with how do we fund these things and start to push those things. So I feel that there's a positive vibe from the board on looking at these events and really showcasing our BIA. However, there's also the negative things. I don't necessarily believe they're negative. I think there's opportunities on the infrastructure side of things, and I can kind of put my business hat on too as far as a president and business. I take a walk downtown Newcastle and I look at the infrastructure and how everything looks down here and how everything's well maintained. You walk on, you got Ritchie's Wharf, you got all these great facilities on this side of the river, if you want to call it that. And then you take a walk downtown Chatham, and it's not the same vibe at all. We have, depleted sidewalks that are starting to get pretty bad shape. We get some of our statues and monuments that are starting to get wore down. Waterford Green, beautiful park, but we don't have the infrastructure to attract. We utilize it, but it's definitely not where it needs to be. Elm Park has been a great investment, but I believe it's on the 1st phase or the 2nd phase, so there's more infrastructure that needs there. There's no power in order to, if we run a couple of strings of lights, you start popping breakers. So I think it's fair to say And even if you go down Duke Street, I think it's fair to say that there's quite a disconnect between both BIAs as far as how we are and how we present ourselves. I think the business community does quite well at trying to do their best. But I think there's definitely an opportunity for the city to work with us and also communicate how we can improve. I know there seems to be this, I don't know how you call it, but there seems to be, we invest this much here, we invest that much there. But it seems we're so far behind right now. So that was one thing that I wanted to bring up to your point. Kind of just bring it up and see if we can work together on those things.
Yeah, I guess, is there anything specific, Mr. Chanel, that you'd be advocating that we include in the 2024 budget? I think that would be the most timely.
Well, I think it's kind of one of those things that if again, I challenge you to kind of walk here in the downtown Newcastle and look at the square and look at, it's kind of a big picture thing at this point. I'm not even sure where to begin, because I can start, I mean, some of our members are chasing potholes and manhole covers that are not level, which is important, equally as important as when you walk down Waterford Green and you see we got this beautiful bandstand that's incomplete, really. It's really, we can't really use it. Or if you go to Elm Park and you got not enough power to do some of these type of events that we want to do. So I guess to answer your question is I don't know where to start. I just know that as a business owner and as somebody that's invested quite heavily, I see there's a disconnect between both downtowns, and it's not a rock throwing contest. I'm not saying that you guys are doing this or not. I'm just saying that as a parent, and we're at risk at losing some of our major anchors, and it's getting harder to attract new business when you have those type of things happening, and you know, it's a challenge. I feel there's a big challenge. I know we got choo-choos at, you know, that property there that you guys are looking at, and I know there's opportunities there, but I just think there seems to be a little disconnect. So that was just kind of I know the board wanted me to kind of bring that up, so I'm just bringing that up as a point of conversation. So Water Street's starting to get pretty bad. The sidewalks are getting pretty bad, you know, so it's just, I know that in front of and I'm not taking away from all the hard work that they've done. That's not what I'm here to do. I understand there's been a lot of infrastructure done. I'm just saying that there has to be, I know we have a plan and strategic plan that you guys are working hard towards, but I just see that we're just not there yet, and it's going to be a while before we get there. So that was that. Any other questions on that, or I know it's kind of politically answering your question.
No, I mean, it's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I guess I'll open the floor now. Or is there more from you?
And that's kind of leading into where I'm going. So I had this idea, and at this point it's at the idea phase. I am working with a couple of, with Downtown St. John, Uptown St. John, I think they're called. Anyway, so she's putting me in touch with a consultant for lighting our downtown. So I have this concept in my mind. It's called the Dancing Downtown. And what I mean by that is where we will not have Ritchie Wharf type facilities, which is fine. We need to create a destination for a downtown Chatham. So I have this idea of utilizing light in our BIA as a drawing card where we can have some type of events. As you see, you know, Riverview does it with their Christmas lighting, a lot of draw there, and it kind of fits into what we're supposed to do, is draw people in our BIA. And when I talk of a dancing downtown, it's envisioning a big picture item, which would be multiple phases, but it would be lighting up the downtown, and with the ability and the technology that's out there, you could utilize music and make the downtown dance on certain events and really, really showcase what we have. So that's kind of where we're at the initial phase of that. And as I get more information, I'll probably request to have another meeting like this.
Great, sounds good.
So that's it.
All right, well, I'll open the floor now to questions or comments from members of council. And Councillor King, I saw you put your hand up first.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Janot, for the presentation. You've got some great ideas there, especially with the lights. And I heard from a lot of people for electricity at Elm Park, too, was right. So they can maybe set up a thing for something like Newcastle has here, where the people can go out and dance, stuff like that. And Kim Anderson, you talked about, is she here permanently or now, or?
Kim?
Yes,
I believe she's got a spot in Chatham, yes.
okay. As long as she can work with the city of Miramichi and our manager, it'd be great.
Oh, I think you mean the event organizer, Councillor King,
Yes.
not
Kim
the
Henderson.
photographer. Kim,
I thought Kim Harris. Kim Henderson,
Yeah.
sorry, what
Yes.
was it? I was just not following the question. What was the question about Kim, sorry, about
Well,
Peg?
as long as Kim can work with the city, you know, we're willing to work with her.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, the problems that we had last time with
Yeah.
the gentleman was, but anyway, I won't go there, but
Yeah, no, we're not going there
you
either.
you got some great ideas, and I hope they come to fruition, and let's work together and move ahead and move forward. Thank you very much for the presentation.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor King. Councillor Arsenault, I see your hand up online.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Janot, for the presentation. Really encouraged, actually, by the ideas and the work that's gone into what you presented today. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for continued discussion, and appreciate the points that you brought around the challenges and the things that we need to look at in that downtown as well. So I think it's a good starting point for us, for sure. I think there is a lot of opportunity, and I think moving forward, there's some really good, fruitful things that we can do in the downtown there, and in conjunction with the other downtown as well. I'm encouraged by the conversations you've had with the powwow and what might come from that. So looking forward to continuing this.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Arsenault. Just to speak from the chair to you, Mr. Janot, and a couple of comments. I'm not sure I have many questions, but just in terms of paths forward and trying to make things happen. Like, I think that there are good ideas, and from me at least, well received. I think I would agree with you that we all have to sort of, and we do the same thing here as a city, like what should we do ourselves, and what should we engage experts to do on our behalf and make sure it's done well, right? And although there were no numbers presented for the winter idea, the busker one seems like it's quite reasonable in terms of costing. I would say for both, and I'm not sure with the winter idea if it did say 2024, so if you're trying to get that activated for next year, with both events, I think the next step, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director McTavish, would be submitting the event proposals along with the budgets to our festival and event program. And that would include sort of identifying between this Historic Chatham and the event manager, Kim, what that budget is and how much you're asking us for. So we know where the other stuff might come from, but to be clear what you're asking. And the program is formula-based. So it would spit out a number of here's what automatically we would be able to partner with you on, and how we work is if the ask to the city is above the number the program would facilitate, then you can bring the extra number to council to consider council deciding to give more, right? But I think it's well received and made that we're always looking for new things in the winter and not in the main summer season. And, we know the buskers were popular when it was here. So, I'd encourage you to get both of those in sooner than later, and that would facilitate the discussions on those. And on the infrastructure, I'm hearing especially when we look at infrastructure, there's bigs and littles, right? So maintaining a sidewalk or fixing a statue that's broken, like that stuff, that to me, like, you don't have to have a big plan and wait 4 years to do that. Like, we note that we have a sidewalk replacement program. So they do look at things based on what's worse. There's a few being done right now up on Wellington Street. And so, I'll ask the guys to have an extra look at the Water Street area for sidewalks as they're looking at next year's list. And I would just sort of, though, take the opportunity to say, when we look at the dollars and cents, we've actually invested more in downtown Chatham, and that's primarily because of the Station Wharf.
Yeah.
One of my passions, and you know this from our conversations, is downtown renewal and waterfront development. I've been pushing those files hard since I got here, and I don't intend to slow down until I'm gone. And we just renewed an exciting vision for the Water for Green and expanding that Chatham waterfront area. And Jason, I sent you an email this morning, Director Walsh, to say, is that on our website? And if not, it should be, because we've adopted this vision, and we should tell and show the community the exciting vision that we have for that downtown. And that would, I'm looking to roll that out in phases sooner than later, because I believe in robust renewal of our public spaces, and I know members of council generally have agreed. That's how we've gotten so much done, and hopefully they'll continue to agree. And I also love your idea on lighting, because that's something that we just heard from this downtown. That's an idea that they have too, that both it's safety, it's beautification, it creates that atmosphere. Yeah. So I'd encourage you to continue down that, and it seems like it might need to be a bit more formally thought out. Oh, yeah. But that would, there'd be an open ear, at least for me, on that too. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything specific that's maybe more maintenance that you'd like to have considered to get done next year, I'd encourage you to submit that in the next week or so in writing. Yep. And on, on the infrastructure side, knowing that, and anything else that might be bigger in scale and vision too, feel free to send those in also. Because I do think that the lighting ideas you have would be complementary to what we've done already in Elm Park and what our vision for the waterfront. Yep. So ideas that could be incorporated as we build out that in phases. So
yeah, no, that's great. I think the biggest missed opportunity, I think, over the last couple of years has been communication with I can only speak on our BIA standpoint. We've obviously missed the opportunity to get a lot of that information that you're speaking of. So I think moving forward, that's something that we all can work on, including ourselves, is to be more inclusive and trying to get more of that information, because we need to get that out to our members. And get them excited as well as you guys are about all these great things that you're on the planning and all that stuff. And I know it's been publicly announced, but I think sometimes we all get our heads in the weeds, doing our own business and kicking the doors open, that we don't necessarily see that. So I think that moving forward, that'll certainly improve.
Well, we're all busy, and I always stay grounded in the fact that we're part-time folks here too, right, with other full-time jobs. Yeah, and 100%. I've RSVP'd yes to the AGM next week, so I'll make sure I can bring the pictures with me at the very least. But as it relates to the power in Elm Park too, the last thing I'd say is, as you may have also seen in the not so good sphere, like we've identified some major issues with the Chatham Library. And so there's going to need to be some work done in that area in one way or another. So again, if power in the park, in Elm Park, is a top priority for the BIA, I'd encourage you to submit that in writing too, because that's something that can be looked at as we're looking at what is inevitably going to have to happen there next year regardless.
And a lot of the maintenance stuff, Jay's been really good at his department at communicating with us. So I'm not leaving here on a negative standpoint. I'm just saying that I think communication's key, and I think we got to keep taking the barriers down. And we've been pretty good at creating barriers in the past few years, so now we're trying to take them down and create,
for me, everything's well received here, and I'm just always trying to help find the right channel so that we can actually end up getting things done. I hope it's all positive on this side too.
The last thing on the Wonderland, it's about a $25,000 budget.
Okay. So those, those are not big budgets from my perspective. So again, I'd encourage you to get both of those events into the department, and they'll tell you what other information they need that wasn't provided today as well. So, and on the buskers, I guess the one caveat I'd say is, it mentioned that it was sort of 40 plus a few extras. When you submit to us, sort of cost out the extras so we have the whole number.
Yeah. So that's the cost to host the event.
Yeah.
So then we have to go back with her and say, okay, I need this, and start working. I've already had conversations with the Carrefour on certain things, and also the other thing is we're trying to bring in some chalk art during that time too. So we're trying to utilize everything that we have to create a beautiful event. But yeah, so we'll have all of them costing out. So it definitely 40,000 or whatever. Yeah, 40,000 plus HST was the cost to host the event, and then there's going to be all the in-kind and all the other stuff that was going to be required. So it should be for us, it'll be our premier event. And then the Winter Wonderland, if again the board approves it, our board approves it, that would kind of be something to grow, ice sculptures. And I think there's potentially some other things that we were speaking about, that there could be something in 2025 potentially. So that could kind of put some weight to this too. So we're just looking to try to create something to start and then kind of grow it from there. So.
It came to my attention, Mr. Janot, that there's a provincial fund of $2 million for downtown BIAs can access. and it was brought to my attention that last year the Historic Chatham was the only BIA in the province that didn't submit.
Yeah, I've already applied.
Yeah, so I'm just always always happy to contribute funds, but also to help you find where the other funds are.
Yeah, I've opened up the line of communication with all the BIAs as well, so we're getting a lot of resources over the last 2 weeks. So,
Councillor Duplessis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Janot, Brian. Super well received, like the mayor said. Happy to hear you talk about lighting. I've been talking about lighting a lot, and I think we should just light the whole place up. So that's cool to see. And I think one thing I want to kind of emphasize is when you said you said it a couple times in your presentation, trying to stay high level, and I think that's where these conversations need to stay. They need to stay exciting. They need to stay visionary. You know what I mean? And we need to chase big picture stuff as kind of as we sit in this chair and as you sit in that chair. So I think that's the kind of the tone and the tempo that we take with this stuff, and we've had similar conversations. The other kind of element too is, as you've kind of illustrated this stuff, we've had conversations before of this does bleed between there's economic development benefits, but there's recreation benefits, but there's health and leisure benefits, there's branding and marketing benefits for everyone, including the city as a kind of a corporation. So I think as more of a message to us here internally is that we can see this kind of across, not necessarily just the BIA budget line, and I say that as inclusive of both, but also this is a recreation, activity. And I think nailing down on the family day stuff is super point on. I think every year that comes around, and I'm like, we should be doing more. Or you're looking around the province even and saying there should be more. So I think that's super on point. So happy to see this stuff kind of come here and then move forward. So just appreciate your time. Thanks.
thank you.
Thanks. I see nothing further for that, Mr. Journal. So thank you for the presentations today. Some exciting stuff in the works in Historic Chatham, and we'll watch for the formal applications to come in the appropriate venues. But all the best.
Yeah, and our AGM's next Monday, which is late, but it'll be next Monday, and then the new board's elected. It looks like there's going to be a pretty good churn on it. So then this will be the new board's decision. But I just want to make sure I put it forth.
Great.
All right.
Well, thank you. We'll see you there.
All right. Good enough.
We do have 2 items left. I think we should at least be able to get through the first one. We might have to table the second one until a future meeting. We try to keep these tight to an hour. So the next item is capital.